Hi everyone! I know we're all so excited about It's Fall Y'all mystery box that Cricut just released. I know that the Candy Apple Cutie might be a repeat color for some of you, but for a lot of you, hopefully it's a new one. But I want to talk about what's in the box. So when I get these boxes, I always think to myself, what is the product that I would most want to see something made with? So we have that beautiful glitter mesh iron-on, that eggplant one. And I just think it's so pretty, but everyone's always like, what do you do with the mesh? So I'm going to show you today. I recommend solid shapes for the mesh. You want it to really highlight that mesh. I want like basically a silhouette of my image. So what I'm going to do first is go to images, and I'm looking for something specific. I'm going to do some cupcakes, and I'm actually going to go over to my filters over here on the left and do bookmarked because I already picked a couple that I thought I'd like. There's so many cupcake options, so I wanted to pick some. Okay, so I like this one with a little heart. I think that's super cute. So I'm going to click Add to Canvas, and then I'll view it here, and it'll bring me back to my canvas. So today I'm actually putting this cupcake image on napkins. My niece is having a birthday party, and my sister was like, oh, I can't find like cute napkins that I like. And I was like, I can make some. So a lot of people don't realize that you can put iron-on onto napkins, and it is such a great way to customize these images. So I want to show you a few things here. Now you can tell that this is not a solid shape because of the white here. If you have your grid lines on, you'll be able to see that those grid lines through here. I don't prefer to work with my grid lines on, but right between these 0 coordinates here, we can click this and it will change it, turn it on and off. But we also have the option to change our canvas color. So right here at the bottom of our layers panel, click blank canvas, and you don't think anything happens, but right up here, you get this color swatch. So you'll get that, and I'm gonna change it to like a blue. So you can see all through here is empty. Well, we have the option of contour. So contour removes cut lines. So what we'll do is go to contour, and this is a super easy one because we'll just hide all contours. We don't want any of them, so we'll click hide all. Actually that might, yeah, it's gonna hide the heart too, so I'll just fill that back in. You want to make sure you get both, and you can do it over here in your layers panel too, in your contour layers panel if that's easier, but that's up to you. So we're gonna get out of here, and I'm going to size this down. I actually have not measured my napkins yet, but I'm thinking I'm going to do like a 2 by 2. Oh, I didn't realize my dimensions weren't locked. So I'm going to undo, make that bigger. Okay, so with my dimensions locked, I'm going to do, actually, I want it to be 2 at the biggest. So I'm going to the biggest number and putting 2, and that's by 1. A little over 1.5, so I'm good with that. I'm going to be using my Joy Extra today, so I have my Joy Extra selected. I'm going to click Make. I don't need to save this project right now. I'll come back and do that, but that's a nice feature to have to remind you in case you forgot. I will be cutting the mesh iron-on a mat, and I have 5 napkins to do. So I'm going to do them and send them to my sister to see if she likes them before I make a whole bunch, because she needs quite a few. So I'm just doing 5 for now. This way, if she wants to, she can also use them, see how they hold up, all of that. So I'm doing on a mat. I'm going to click confirm. Now, I said I'm doing 5, but I didn't put 5 here. I find it easiest to just go right up to our project copies, change it to 5, and click apply. That for me is the easiest option. And then I'm going to select my mirror option because I'm using iron-on. And then I'm going to do a 7 by like 5 piece is what I'm going to cut this down to. So I'm going to click continue. Now I have 2 Joy Extras, so it's looking for my machine. It's going to find both of them, so it's going to ask me to choose which one I want. If you only have one, that one's just going to pop right up, so you're not going to have to do what I'm doing. But just, I always like to tell people that just so they're like, well, mine doesn't do that. Why? So that's why. So I'll pick which one I'm going to use today. And then I have my favorite materials favorited here, but I'm going to click Browse All Materials and choose Mesh. It's not something I work a lot with, so I don't have it favorited. So you can search Mesh, or you can do the drop down and go to IronOn, but I find it easiest to just search. So I'm using the glitter mesh IronOn today. I'm going to click Done, and this is reminding you to make sure your mirror is turned on and my material is shiny side down. Okay, so I'm doing a 7x5 piece of IronOn, and we're going on a mat. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my camera so we can show you how I do that. Okay, so I have my mesh IronOn here. I have my scissors, I have my weeding tool, my brayer, my napkins, and my green mat. You want the green mat for IronOn. And I know mine looks a little funny because it's upside down. I like to rotate my mat which way I put it in so that it evens out the stickiness. You don't have to do that. That's just what I like to do. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down. I use my True Control knife and my safety ruler. That's how I've been cutting my materials down for like 6 years. So whenever the self-healing mat came out, it's my favorite way to do it. So I'm going to move my machine aside a little bit. And I use my self-healing mat. That's this mat here, and it's got the measurements on it. And it just makes it so easy to measure and line everything up. So I'm going to cut that down. Now, I am using my mini press today, my Cricut mini press for these napkins. If you want to do a bigger press, that's fine. I did some napkins for a friend's wedding a couple years ago. She wanted 300 of them. So I used my auto press and I pressed as many as I could at a time. It's up to you. But since I'm only doing 5, I'm just going to use my mini press. Alright, so, and then we're doing 7 wide. And if you do not have a brayer, I highly recommend it. You can see that this is pretty tightly rolled up. So sometimes that makes it a little harder to get it down on the mat, and that brayer is really going to help you. My scraps, for these, I have just a 12x12 scrapbook case from Michaels that I use. I'm a big fan of that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, remove my plastic sheet, and I'm going to put my material down. Just line it up the best you can. I try to get really straight with this mesh because of those circles. So you can see, I'll show you guys how it's not perfectly flat on my mat. So that's where my brayer is going to come in. And I'm just going to go in, and I know this was designed for fabric, but I use it for every material, and it works so well. And now I see everybody using them, and I love it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. If you don't have a Joy or a Joy Extra, these are, they auto feed. So I'm going to, that was just peeking up a bit. I'm going to just butt it up against those rollers, and it's going to feed it in. I'm going to let this cut, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I have it all cut. I'm going to put my Joy Extra aside. I take all my materials off the mat the same way. Flip your mat over and pull your materials off the mat. Be careful, your mats can break if you bend them too hard. Okay, and now the cut lines are actually not super difficult to see if you hold it in the right angle so you guys can see it there. But I am going to pop on my Bright 360 quick and just cut this excess material off that I don't need. And I'll put that in with my scrap bin, as well as that other piece from what I had cut down before. Okay. And turn this off for you guys. And because it is just a super simple design, I don't really need to see the light to see where the design is. I'm just gonna start weeding in the corner. Now, because it has the hole here, I just stuck it right through this hole. But usually I start in that upper left corner. Depending on what hand is your dominant hand, will depend on how, where you start. You can start on any side. And we're just gonna slowly peel this off. Now, because of those circle shapes, you've gotta be a little bit careful here. There we go. because it might try to pull up some of your design because of where the holes are. So you can see it's hard to predict where those holes are going to cut. So you can see here, I've got this. I might ditch these hearts or some of them depending on where they cut into the mesh. They were a little bit smaller, so the cupcakes look really cute, but some of the hearts, I'll show y'all when I'm done, some of the hearts don't look as cute. So you can see like this one down here, but this one, like, these look really cute because they just have the little hole in the center here. So I might get rid of some of them. I think just this one right here. I'll ditch that. All right, and then I'm going to grab my Easy Press and my Easy Press mats. I'm using the medium setting. Now I'm not using the heat guide for this. Typically I use the heat guide for everything, but I don't really know what to consider this. So I'm just going to kind of play a guessing game here, which is not normally what I would recommend, but it's not going to take long for these to stick to that napkin because it's just paper. So I'm going to give it a couple seconds, let it cool, because I know the glitter mesh iron-on is a cool peel, and then we're just going to kind of test it that way. So there's really no need to like lint roll this or prep it in any way. You don't have to, I don't preheat. And you can just decide how you want. It's almost impossible to see on camera, but there is kind of like a design along the edge here. So I'm just going to kind of go with that. And then because I am using the mini, like I said, I'll do one at a time. Be careful because this is a pretty sticky carrier sheet, especially with the glitter. And something that I hear a lot is the glitter going to stick onto my blank? It's not, so you don't have to worry about that at all, any excess glitter. But something to keep in mind, if you are using glitter as your top layer, any glitter from the carrier sheet can transfer to your other vinyl that's already down. It's not going to transfer to like your shirt or the napkin or your tote bag or whatever. But if you already have a layer of iron-on down, yes, it can transfer to that. Because I'm using a paper napkin, I want to be careful. I'm using my Teflon sheet, and I'm just going to move this around, I don't know, like 5-10 seconds, make sure I get all areas well. And because this is a cold peel, what I'll do is I'm going to set this napkin aside and just keep going, and then we'll come back and test it, because if it's not sticking, we're going to have to repress it anyway. So at least these other ones are done. We're not just sitting here waiting for that to cool to find out. We're getting stuff done. So you can I use Teflon normally because it's reusable, and my husband didn't realize that when he bought me them, so I have a ton of the sheets. You can also use parchment paper. I know people have done like a thin pillowcase. That would not be my recommendation because it still is a little bit thicker. So it's going to take you a little bit longer because that heat, remember the heat has to penetrate through all of, all of the layers to get to it. So the Teflon sheet is made to actually conduct heat. So it will help adhere this a little bit faster. And I use my Easy Press mats. If you only want to buy one, I do recommend the biggest one. I believe it's 16 by 20. Regardless of your press size, if you're doing bigger shirts and stuff like that, I do recommend, if you're only going to get one mat, get the bigger one. I do have them all, and I use them all depending on my project, but I know not everybody has the space for it, so I do recommend just go straight for the bigger one. It is worth it. They do go on sale from time to time too if you want to wait and maybe grab one or two. I use one to put my like my press on. You can see I have this one so that the heat doesn't affect my work surface. Cricut no longer makes this really big self-healing mat, and it's my absolute favorite, so I like protect it at all costs. I'm so afraid something will happen to it. So I'm going to do this last one, and then we'll go back and we'll test our first one. Now sometimes too it's still a little bit warm, but I can just put it in the air. It's actually, my air conditioning is still on even though it's fall because it is very warm here. So sometimes I'll put it like by the vent and let it cool down near there too. So I'm just going to slowly, okay, so see, it's perfect. With the paper, like napkin, it really takes no time at all to adhere. So I figured just that couple seconds would be good. Now, if you are worried about, you know, something about it coming off, just put your Teflon over it and go over it again for a few more seconds. You don't want to go too much because that glue, that adhesive that's behind there can start melting out. So see how cute this is? It takes just like a simple white napkin and turns it into like the cutest little thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull these all off. And I do like it better with the heart if you see these side by side. So I will have to keep that in mind when going through. I might just cut a whole sheet of hearts and kind of place it into ones if I don't like the way it cut, but I do prefer it with the heart. Alright guys, if you have any questions, please let me know.